The Spot Real Talk. My name is Tiara.
I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Ron.
And we have special guests here with us today. You guys want to introduce yourself? Ladies first.
Nita the Diva.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey.
Fellas.
I'm Ron Hunter, Ron H, Ron Square. You know how we do.
Ron Squared.
Vacayjaytv, Big Unk, Big J, you know, Vacay Jackson in the building.
Yes, our two New York representatives here, repping hard.
I get ready to say we got to excuse those two because they repping hard.
But we are here for a very special reason today. We are talking about the Michael movie. If you have not seen it, I don't know what rock you're hiding up under, but several people on this panel here have seen it multiple times and have, loved what they've seen. So we decided to come together and talk about the film. We know it was released early April of this year, 2026. It stars Michael Jackson's nephew, Jafar Jackson, playing the Michael Jackson role, and of course directed by Antoine Fuqua. So, they had an all-star cast. I wanted to ask you guys, first of all, about the casting, because that's what stood out to me immediately. So feel free to chime in freely. Anybody want to talk about casting for this movie? Nita, go ahead.
First of all, the casting, beautiful. They look like everyone was just so pleasingly pleasant to the eye. And I think that they really embodied the people that actually were the people of that time, because I was just like, either it was makeup, prosthetics, or whatever. It looked amazing. Everything looked great. I think the acting caliber, they were spot on. Everything was just great. I loved it. There were some people that were kind of understated, but they made such a big impression. The person who played Bill Bray he was kind of like underestimated, kind of like a smaller character, but his presence was very, very, very commanding. It was something really, really nice about him. His name is Kalen Darrell Jones. And so shout out to him. He looked like him. The mannerisms was like him. I loved it. It was just so good. So good.
Ron Johnson, you wanted to chime in.
I was thinking about Little Man. We didn't give him respect. The younger
Juliano.
Michael. Yeah, Valdez. I mean, that young man. He put on a heck of a show. I mean, I'm thinking, okay, now it's time for him to grow up. What are we going to see next? And then they give us none other than
Jafar.
And I'm okay, you couldn't get any better than that, really.
Yeah. Fellas or Tiff, y'all want to chime in on that?
I was just going to say about Giuliano, I've enjoyed his interviews during this whole press run too. He is very charismatic and smart and articulate and everything. And I loved seeing him do his thing when he went down to the J Hud Spirit Tunnel. He was a good addition to the cast.
Yeah. I thought that, him personally, seeing that he had interest in Michael Jackson before the role even came about, I think that's what kind of made it all the more special, because he was already imitating Michael. He had already had some of the dance moves down. So I was like, that really brought something special to his performance, because he was you could tell he was into it. Now,
fellas,
Jay, did you want? Because I'll be honest, what I got to say, there's a little negative in it. So you guys,
okay. So
I want to be free.
We want to be honest.
Hey, I wanted to be a conversation.
Well, this is real talk, so go on.
Yeah, real talk. No. I love Jafar. I love the young man. I love the energy. Jafar, man, he had me captivated. Seriously, he embodied Michael for real, especially on that tour when he's doing the moves.
I
was like, man, I was feeling it. He's in the studio. I felt like I was making Thriller. I was making the album with Mike. How many of us would love to be in the studio, be a fly on the wall?
Oh, man,
It's Michael's magic that came from above, and he acknowledged that. I know we're gonna get into that.
Yeah.
It was an incredible film, incredible casting, incredible casting.
And I said when he did that moonwalk, I almost got up and did it myself, man. That
Yeah, that was fantastic. I mean, listen, he is extremely talented. Maybe he didn't know he could tap into that level of talent. I will say I agree with everybody. I think the casting was phenomenal. I really especially liked I don't know if I knew or I forgot. I was like, when I saw Lorenz Tate as Barry Gordon, I was like, what? Did I know that? I was like, wow. But I could see him, like he obviously studied Barry Gordy, he had his mannerisms down. I'm like, okay. So, I mean, I think, everybody was fantastic. I mean, and then I loved another thing that if you would have told me before that Nia Long would play Michael's mother, I wouldn't have really seen it. She was fantastic. So I thought, yeah, like I think they did a great, phenomenal job. And I think Jafar Jackson did a fantastic job capturing all the mannerisms and like to a T. I don't think anybody, there might have been somebody who looks more like Michael in certain instances, but not someone who could portray him the way Jafar did it. So that was key. And that brings me my only negative.
Well, they said he trained for that for 2 years.
Really? Was it that long? Wow.
Yeah, I saw an interview the other day, and they said he had trained for that role for 2 years. In fact, he didn't even think he was, that he was the pick for the role. He had gotten a call later, and in fact, they asked him had he ever acted, and he said no, and he never planned to. He wanted to be a musician. So guess what? You're an actor now, bro.
Yeah, no, he showed some chops, man. He was phenomenal.
Hey, no disrespect to Flex Alexander, but he did a way better job. No disrespect, Flex. We love you, Flex, but
oh my God.
I think it helps that he's family too. I mean, because the notable resemblance and stuff and dancing and everything. I want to hear Ron.
I want to hear the critique. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I only have two critiques, and one is just a wish. The second, the first is a real critique, and there's nothing they could do about it. Like I said, he was the perfect pick to play Michael. The only thing is, I did not love the makeup of late Michael. I didn't think there was points where I was looking at his face and I was like, I don't know who this is, because I just really I didn't see it. Young Michael, great. In between Michael. Fantastic. Right when he got towards the end, the 1988 Michael, I was like,
bad Michael.
Yeah, I don't know. but other than that, still he reeled me in with the performance, the mannerisms, the cadence, and just the emotion. So I was still good. I was still good with it.
I'm not mad at those critiques.
It's not that bad. It wasn't that bad. And then my only wish list is like, time and place. And I just wish like time of yesteryear could have been now, because I would have loved for young Michael to be the kid that played Michael in the TV series. I forgot his name.
But Jason Weaver.
But Jason Weaver is grown.
Jason Weaver killed young Michael. So he was killing that.
But I thought he was talking about back then.
No. Young Michael. No, young Michael. I just would have. Young Michael. Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Well, I do have some things about casting. First of all, I thought that Coleman Domingo as Joe Jackson. I mean, there were so many points during that movie, I couldn't even tell it wasn't him. I was like so intrigued with the way he portrayed Joe Jackson. It was like spot on.
He did his thing.
Did it big
one. Another genius casting moment was Quincy Jones. The way they casted Quincy, I was like, he really do look like him.
Exactly.
It just occurred to me once he appeared on screen. I was like, you know what? He does resemble him a whole lot. So that was perfect. And, in addition to the Bill Bray character, once I seen the real picture of him, my mouth fell on the floor, because I'm like, how did they find somebody that looked just like this man? Are they related? Now, I will say notable differences for me was with casting Nia Long as Katherine Jackson, because in the TV series, The American Dream, with Angela Bassett, and it's not necessarily a casting thing. I think it's more of a portrayal thing, because this Katherine Jackson seemed a little bit less assertive. I mean, she had her moments where she would, push back, but that Angela Bassett character of Katherine Jackson, she used to go back at Joe hard. Go to bed, Joe. Leave the boys alone. Like, she would really put her foot down.
She had a little Tina in it too.
She had a little bit of a contrast between the Catherines for me.
But that's what I liked about Nia.
I do wonder where the real Catherine falls in that spectrum.
But that's what I liked about Nia Long, because she was very soft, and you had to be to deal with Joseph, because Joseph was just, I mean, way out of pocket. You know, the way he treated them, the way he literally punished them into perfection. And I really want to ask, Ron. Ron, do you think the makeup side might have been may have been a little different because Jafar was a little heavier than Michael?
He definitely was. I noticed that on tour.
Yeah.
When he had the striped pants on, I was like, oh, he's thicker than Mike Hubbard.
That's a good point. That makes sense, because I can't imagine how hard it must be to mimic, you know, the face of someone, especially the face of someone who had like well, but not even just the vitiligo, the nose job. Because they didn't get into it because there's a lot of conflicting stories with reference to the nose job. I mean, obviously they did bring it up, but from what I remember, I could be wrong, I thought that Michael got the nose job and then it was like a little bit botched, or there was an issue and he had to get another nose job, but they didn't touch on that.
He did.
Oh,
he did in the movie too.
I'm not tripping.
Yeah, they never addressed it. They just showed that he had like the like he had underwent some surgery later on too. So he had 2 nose surgeries in this movie.
But let me let me ask a question though, because what I thought or remembered about the nose job, I know initially I thought that he was getting that because he kind of wanted to be less of a African American and more of a, you know, have that Anglo-Saxon look by narrowing his nose. However, the information I read, they mention it, but then they mentioned vitiligo as if it had something to do with it. And we never really got into why did he do that nose job.
In the movie, I think they hinted at it where Joe called him Big Nose.
Big Nose.
You know,
yeah, he was.
Joe used to make fun of him, you know, and so I think he was very insecure about the size of his nose and how wide it was. And then just like throughout the movie, like especially as he got older, you could see that there was like a real disdain there for, you know, that father-son relationship and how he felt like Joe was kind of like using him to a point. And I wondered if some of his cosmetic procedures had something to do with like not even wanting to look like him.
I read that.
Right.
He didn't want to look like him.
I'm getting ready to say, that makes more sense because Joe, your nose, you could put a semi truck through it. So I'm not sure why you were so much worried about Michael's nose. Your nose was kind of spreading too. So,
yeah, and actually, you know, the other thing too about Michael's nose. I mean, I think, like I said, I think they did a really good job, and you can see obviously the differences. But in the movie, I don't think Michael's nose was as big as it really was in real life. Like Michael had a big nose back in the day. Like it felt like it was a little wider than they had it in the movie. But I was like, all right, I'm rocking with it. And another thing I had to say, I just had to get this out. I don't know how the hell that happened, but the grace of God, I don't know how that ugly Joe gave birth to them good-looking kids. Like I have no clue. Like,
Catherine,
all Catherine. Yeah, that's all Catherine. Yeah, you don't have to wonder anymore.
Look, sometimes 70-30.
Damn. But anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying. I think that the movie did, because there were a lot of, you know, people online chattering, talking about the stuff that they felt like they did not touch on versus what they did decide to cover. And I think that a lot of what ended up in the final, movie was based on the various lawsuits and the requests to not be included in the film.
There it is.
And so I really do wonder what the original version included versus what we got.
Well, I saw the interview with Antoine Fuqua, and he had to do like $50 million of reshoots because he had a lot of stuff in there. The movie ended past bad, and then, you know, the allegations were in there too. Mm-hmm. But of course, you know, there's legal considerations, settlement agreements, and things that have certain clauses that was not brought to his attention until after he had already filmed it, which caused them to have to reshoot. And then, you know, the actress Kat Graham, said that she had filmed as Diana Ross, and there were legal considerations behind that, and they removed her parts from the movie. And I thought that was glaring to me when I saw the movie, because I was just like, Diana was a huge part of Michael and Jackson 5 and all that stuff. And I was like, and for her not to be nowhere in the picture, I was like, what's up with that?
Yeah, so that was
So
my
why do you think that Diane is not in it?
Huh? Yeah. Why do I think?
Real talk.
Real talk. Yeah. Real talk? I mean, well, yeah, go ahead, spit it out. Why do you think?
She didn't get the clearance, right?
Just
no.
But what's the reason behind the?
No, but that's stuff behind. Because remember now, Diane, it was said that Diane was,
Diana.
Diana, yeah. It was said that she and Michael were like,
tight. Yeah,
tighter than tight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think, I'm not sure if Diana wanted that to be her legacy.
I mean, but she didn't know. I mean, but I guess she figured if the brothers are executive producers, she didn't know what was going to be said. But it wasn't portrayed that way in American Dream. Like, she was portrayed in American Dream, and and she was portrayed as a mentor and stuff, as she was. So I was just like, why can't she be portrayed in the Michael movie?
I think that so much time has gone by, and we are in such a different way in time in life that she just said, you know what? Even if you have the best made intentions for my character and my role, leave me out of it, because there's going to be somebody out there that does some digging or stars up some stuff. And because the Diana Ross stuff and Michael stuff, it goes way back. So whenever it started, it was a different movement.
Allegedly.
Right. You know the deal. And that's the part that was missing for me. That was the only gripe.
Me too. Because it had me side-eyeing.
Diana was a major part of the Jackson 5.
Crazy part. Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw in some, I've seen it, in certain clips, they actually have Jafar in the Scarecrow outfit like they was in the Wiz. So there were parts already filmed, and that was the $50 million reshoot that needed to happen. So I'm just like, man, like, Diana, how could you not be in this? Like, you're a major part of this legacy.
Jackson 5 used to live with her.
Yeah.
For a certain point of time. So I was just like, how do we skip over that?
You know what it is? I think they were getting so intricate and personal with Mike that to leave that story out, like, it was getting too close. Like, it's so close. Like, especially when he went to New York, Studio 54. And everything else like that. He had his own place. He was staying with his sister. So was Diana. We know the story. Okay. So like, Diana was like, yo, you getting too close. I gotta back out of this.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
But the other thing too,
in legal perspective, so we gotta say allegedly.
Yeah. Right. But the other thing too, that is another, like, that, I don't know, man. Some people felt like the story was a great story, but they just felt like maybe it was a little rushed. But I think that it partly might have been rushed because you have to make it a 2-hour movie, and it was still 2 hours and change, right? And you can't. It's tough to touch on any Jackson Michael connection, all those years of music and history in that amount of time and life that he. So, but the other thing too is that about Diana, outside of all of the rumors and all that, but Diana Ross showed Michael Jackson how to be a star. Like, that's a big part of it.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
But let me ask a question though. Because a lot of the younger folk some of the younger people were a little upset because the whole story wasn't told. And as you all so poignantly said, leaving out Diana and so forth. But to me, it was a Michael Jackson legacy piece, musical.
Right. Me too. That's how I saw it.
And so I'm thinking, did we really need all the controversial stuff in there? Because wouldn't it have kind of, dampened the spirit of the whole piece? Because I sat there comfortably for 2 hours.
I did. I enjoyed it.
And I enjoyed every second of it. And so
I would say,
it felt like a celebration of his life.
Me too.
Yeah, exactly.
It should be a celebration.
I'm okay with
and
that.
the allegations, I'm cool with them leaving that out, because to me, that's irrelevant. And a lot of that stuff, they haven't even proven that, and he was acquitted. Okay.
He was acquitted in the court of law.
You need to include that, And if we are talking about a celebration of his life, like I get people wanting to include the makings of Michael and how he got his creative mind and how he became such a huge star and, that role that Diana played. So I get that. But the allegations and stuff, they can keep that.
Yeah, we already know.
It also
they
covered it 1988 as well.
Right. At the time, I was about to say that, whoever's like critiquing the allegations, the timeline, you got to know the timeline. All of that stuff happened after Bad and even Remember the Time and Dangerous. All that stuff happened.
Because he was on tour when it came out. That's when he had to cancel.
You want them to insert the allegations like in 1988 when you're doing Bad? It didn't happen yet.
I think they wanted.
We can save that for part 2.
There's going to be a part 2.
I think.
Oh, go ahead, Ron.
I was going to say, I think that, if they want to do it justice, and don't get me wrong, I agree with you. Everything that Ron said, especially like keep this movie as is, as a musical, tribute to Michael and his life and everything that came from it. That's fine. I think for the people who really want a full story and a full picture of Michael, what you do rather than trying to tarnish his image, because like everybody knows, none of this has been proven. And if anything, we could all say it's false, right? So flip it and draw the conclusions, but bring everything out, but from Michael's perspective, from the perspective of what his truth is, right? And I don't want to take credit for this. I want to say shout out to Charlemagne the God from the Breakfast Club in New York, even though I don't agree with the dude. He was right on with this, because he said, you know what? I don't want to hear all the negative story. If you're going to give me the negative story, give me the truth. Give me what could have precipitated why all of this is happening. Give me Michael purchasing Sony catalogs of all these incredible artists that everybody was like, how could you sell this to Michael? And then once he got his hands on it and didn't want to give it up, then it became a problem in the industry. He had too much power. Get into that.
Exactly.
But you could do it in a way that you kind of go backwards a little bit and piece it together, like certain things started here and you can kind of revolve around it, but then go back to the present time and go from there. That would be cool. And I think a lot of times when it comes to Michael, and even after seeing the movie, you say to yourself, he wanted to be the best. Literally. And once again, going back to Diana Ross, I'm just telling you, like he saw what stardom was like. Anyway,
Michael is the best.
He was, and he still is.
Yeah. And outside of the controversy, I think too, like I feel like first of all, doing a movie that was ambitious, I'll say, for somebody who has been in the music industry since they were 5 years old.
Right.
Like I would have preferred if they had broken it down, kind of like how they did the New Edition series, where they had like multiple episodes that spanned several years all the way up to present day, because I'm like, you can't capture everything in, like you said, in a movie format. Now, the other thing I'll say is that for people that don't have the background, because I think what this movie was trying to do is distinguish itself from the American Dream story, because that one, there's a lot of stuff that you can get from that one. And that one's popular. They had mad reruns for 10 years. People have seen that thing over and over and over again. So I think that they wanted to present something different. Now, for me, I feel like there were other things that were not so scandalous, or at least, in terms of the allegations, that they could have included that wouldn't have been as, scandalous. And I was thinking about, because there were a lot of people on social media breaking down some of the things that happened that they wish could have been included. And one thing I found out that I had no idea of, obviously I wasn't even born, but, leading into that last victory tour and that scandal surrounding the tickets and whatnot. And I was like, what?
Yes. That was, and I said, well, that explains some things for me, because I, growing up with Michael, I always wanted to go to the Michael show, but it never seemed attainable. The tickets, it just never seemed attainable, especially because when I was young, I wanted to go. People were fainting, grown men fainting, sleeping in tents and everything, trying to get tickets. My mom was a nurse. She's like, I'm not camping out to get you Michael Jackson tickets, so it would never seem attainable. So I got to see Janet, but never Michael. And when I saw what was happening with the Victory Tour stuff, and found out behind the scenes, I said, that's probably part of the reason why the tickets were so unattainable
Yeah,
during
they
that
were.
time.
And you're right, because I've never gone. I wanted to, but I was too broke poor to be even bothered. But I want to ask a question about when he got with CBS with Walter. Yet, what's his? Yet, what was his name?
What are you talking about?
Are you talking about the agent he had?
Yetnikoff. Yeah, Yetnikoff. Yeah, Walter Yetnikoff from CBS, and how he pushed to get Michael on MTV. And I remember MTV very well, and they didn't do black stuff.
No, they didn't.
And my concern with that was, and I was a little ticked off with that. Not the fact that they had it in the movie, that was great, but I was ticked off at the fact because it reminded me, what if he hadn't gone to MTV? Would he have still been? I believe it may have taken him a little longer, but I believe he would have been just as big a hit, particularly with Thriller. But did you have to have
Thriller? Yeah.
Did you have to literally now? Again, Walter did exactly what most folks should be doing today. I mean, he was like, okay, so you don't want Michael? I'm gonna pull all my CBS assets out of here, out of MTV, and let's see how you do now.
Right.
But the question is, do you think he would have made it without MTV?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too, because the way the world was just gravitating towards him, they would eventually money talks. They would have come to Michael. Right. They would have come to him eventually.
Yeah, the man would have been so much that MTV would have been begging him for the video.
Yeah.
So he could have been on Video Music Box. He could have been on, he could have been doing shows and like, oh, this guy's big. He's selling out stadiums. Now let's get the video. So it would eventually happen.
Yeah. And I like that they included that, just because I feel like that was the first glimpse that we seen of Michael advocating for himself and kind of like stepping into that role. Like, do you know who I am?
Love that.
He was really fighting to get away from his family too. He made moves to make that happen, and then fighting to get himself on MTV. And I think he was in that stage where he was like becoming his own man at that point. And I felt that's what those scenes were portraying to me.
Those were some of my favorite scenes.
Mine too. I hollered out loud when the point when he quit the show in the middle of the victory tour, when he said, when he lowered the music, listen up, we love y'all. This is our final show.
This the final show.
Yep.
Gotta go.
And the way I screamed when the movie did it, that was probably my favorite part.
You're laughing at Joe's face, though, because Joe's face told it all.
Yeah, he did.
The funny thing was to know it was coming, because he had already talked about it. Yeah, I think this is the final show before, like behind the scenes with the brothers. And then watching Joe sitting back in the chair. Yeah, I'm thinking Paris and London. And oh, man, that was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Yeah. But you know what? It's funny with Michael and his father particularly, because at that point, I think I saw Michael become a man because he stood up to his father and then didn't care what his father said or thought. But do you think Michael might have been a little selfish when it came to his brothers? I know hear me out. When I don't want nobody sending me bad karma, but in the sense that, look at Tiffany, she's ready to go. But but in the sense that the tour, what would have been, and I thought would have been great for the brothers, but I think because of his father having so much input into it, or trying to put so much into it, that Michael just couldn't stand it. But I think a one-time tour with his brothers would have been, why not? They are your brothers, and they need a little help.
They did it domestically though, Ron, right? They just
did. No, I know, but it's that one big tour. Would it? I guess let me clarify. Do you think that might have helped the brothers a little more? Do you think?
He's been helping the brothers, and first of all, when he did the victory tour, like Joe committed Michael without even talking to him.
That's right.
He made all those deals, and that's why Michael was mad too. He made the deal with Pepsi.
Yeah.
The Pepsi deal,
which caused
got his
icing on the cake there,
and that set them in motion. The Demerol and everything else.
Yeah.
And he was in pain, the wigs, everything else. So I think he already had resentment with Joe about that. I think even that too, what happened to him and everything. The way I even saw, like, after I saw the movie, I went back and watched like actual video clips of, the victory tour, the Pepsi and things, and even the press conference that Michael had. Like, he was even upset about how the tickets were handled, because when his father and Don King and them did the tickets, he didn't know they were doing that ticket scan the way it was like, you had to purchase a package. Like, they were pricing a certain way, but you couldn't buy like a single or two ticket. You had to buy like 4 tickets. And so even Michael, later when he found out they were doing that, he was against that. So I think everything from there, and then also when he did the victory tour, Thriller was out. Like, he was supposed to have done the Thriller. And so instead of doing the Thriller tour, he did the victory tour. So that's why I said he made a lot of sacrifices for the brothers, the father, the family, everything. And what did he get?
Yeah.
Right. Everything
there
that
comes
I was
a time when you just have to draw a boundary. You know what I'm saying? He gave up his whole childhood. Like, he was committed from age 5. Like, come on. Like, I think it's enough.
Yeah, Tiff said everything I wanted to say, and he didn't get a chance to do a Thriller tour. That was the biggest selling album of all time,
even to this day. And he didn't get a chance to tour.
You watched the performance, right? Most of the songs that they performed were off the Thriller album. It wasn't a Jackson 5 type of tour.
It was Michael featuring the Jackson 5.
Exactly. So it's like, bro, like, why should I stay? I love you, brothers, but I got to do my own thing for real. Like, Joe, we're done, Joe. We're done.
And then the brothers didn't even look like they were resentful. They felt like, it felt like it was time. Like, even when they were on the stage performing and he actually said it out their mouth, it wasn't like they was upset. It wasn't. They wasn't giving no. They wasn't giving no side eyes, no nothing like that. It was kind of like
shocked though.
This is I'd like to see the behind the scenes, because I mean,
that's you got to check with Jermaine on that one.
Yeah,
then I need to send y'all the documentary, because it was a lot of drama behind the scenes. They were bumping heads behind the scenes.
Okay. Even one of them was dancing on the stage and being weird and just doing this move over and over. Did you see that?
Oh yeah.
Mike was like, "What are you doing?" Everybody was like, "What's going on here?" Like,
was that Tito? Because he was.
No, it was Tito.
That might have been one of them other brothers. I don't think it was Randy.
He was. Yeah, it was weird.
Maybe Marlon, maybe. Was it Marlon? Is that his name? Marlon?
It might have been Marlon.
I think so.
Marlon.
Yeah. So any other like highlights that you guys picked up from the movies, or any other things that you wanted to discuss in particular?
Well, I did want to say, just real quick, I did want to chime in on what Ron asked and how you guys all gave great answers to. Like, but I agree. I think the bottom line is Michael was in a class by himself. His creativity was on another level. He took the music business game to a whole other echelon, and he decided to go branch out and do it. And it's funny because all them brothers was raised in the same house, and they all got it, but nobody got it like Michael, for a reason, because Michael was a little, not standoffish. He just did things differently. It wasn't like, I mean, I thought one of the interesting things watching it was, and I was a little bit, it was starting to bother me, but I'm glad it calmed down when Michael was singing "Who's Loving You" and he couldn't stop moving, right? And Barry Gordon told him, no, Mike, get up to the mic, but you're moving too much. And I was like, maybe the man can't stop moving. The kid got it in him. If he can sing the song the way it's supposed to be sung, even though he's moving and you can't tell, because we can't tell, we just listening to it. We don't know that he's up there doing all this stuff. We don't know that. But I was really worried about that moment right there, because I was like, man, they're going to take the fun out of it for this young man. Like, he already has to do so much under his father, and now he finally gets to I was hoping they wasn't going to do it, but thankfully that wasn't the case. But my point is, Michael gave up everything, and he was the first one to say, you know what? Nah, I'm not doing it. I'm out. None of them other brothers bounced, and they could have all bounced. Even though if they don't got the talent, they could have left.
I mean, they all had talent, but he was the biggest star, though. Yeah. Like, Jermaine was doing his thing solo too, but nobody's star was bigger than Michael's. Only one came close was Janet.
Janet.
Right.
Yeah.
But Ron,
Which,
let me ask you this though, and I knew what Barry Gordy was saying, or what he was trying to get Michael to do, because if you're singing and you're moving, you're typically moving away from the mic, you're going
The
to the
microphone.
mic.
Yeah, no,
So
I agree.
at some point, maybe the average person might not pick it up, but at some point, once you get it released, you don't want that
Feedback.
Yeah.
In and out, in and out.
Right.
in and out kind of thing. So and with that song, because the song was so emotional and so strong, he wanted him up against that mic and just pour his heart into it. So I understood where Barry Gordy was going.
Oh no, I did too. I was just I was looking at it a little deeper. I was just looking at him as someone who's special, who has a gift that like all we can do is look in awe. Like, I don't know how he's singing this way. How's he dancing like this? Where's all, like, I just didn't know where it was going. But then when they kept it exactly the way it was, like specific, it's just about sound, getting his voice up to the mic and pronunciating and letting that thing go. I was like, okay, I'm cool. That was it. I was a little concerned.
I got a question real quick. Speaking of special, right? And we all love Mike, right? But something was put out there that Mike was possibly on the spectrum.
I think so.
What y'all think?
I can speak to it because my son is neurodivergent, and there were so many similarities that I just picked up on, like that no eye contact. Now it could have been because Joe is very intimidating. He's scared of his father, but at the same time, it is like, just one of them things where they just don't want to give you eye contact and stuff like that. So it was so many different little things, even with kind of like the isolation that he had and wanting to have animals as friends. My son is similar in that case. Like, it's just like, it was so many different things. So yeah, I do think so. I
wonder if this show,
a lot of times people back in those days, there was no spectrum. You know what I'm saying? So
there weren't names for it.
Right. Everybody had the same thing. It was all one
special.
thing.
Yeah. And he's an angel too.
Yeah.
Like,
I was
don't
gonna
care
say,
about any allegations.
Showed in his musical process, because there was a point in time where he's like trying to put a beat together.
Yeah.
And like he's doing it all off the top of his brain. And they say like a lot of people that are neurodivergent have like this real spark of creativity where they can do like these amazing things like just off the dome.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I wonder if that's a part of his genius.
It could be. Because they said he studied composition, Tchaikovsky and all of them, and he and even though he didn't read sheet music, he'd use like the beatbox and sang to still compose these songs. And even though he worked with different producers, he had a drum machine, like he was making his own beats, like they were producing, but he was co-producing too, and that's why eventually he started asking for the producer credits as well, because he was making some beats. I watched this interview with Teddy Riley. And Teddy Riley talked about the Dangerous beat, and he said, Mike sent me the beat. He was like, he did it on the drum machines and stuff, and then he said, I took it apart and reworked it and stuff. But Mike sent him the beat first. So he did know, he knew music. He could play a little bit of instrument, even though we never saw it. And they said he could play enough to be proficient with a lot to make the tracks.
Okay. Well, Nita, I want to bring up those animals that you just mentioned. Okay.
Ron, if you gonna say what I'm about to say, let me see.
Oh boy.
Okay, you bring a monkey home, and I'm not. What you say?
I knew as soon as the truck pulled up, my son was like, "Oh, this is a giraffe." I said, "That's Bubbles." I'm telling you.
Okay, so you bring him, but then you bring in a llama. Okay, look, I was expecting Joseph to like just go off. Now I know it's not his home. I mean, but that's true. I mean, that's the truth, man. But a llama and a monkey, I'm not sure if I could have handled that right there.
Listen, I have a question for y'all though about that.
Okay.
Because I felt like the CGI animals kind of cheapened the film for me. I did not like that. They should have used real animals. It made it laughable.
Yeah,
Bubbles is in the sanctuary. He's still alive.
They could have got a monkey that looked like Bubbles. I'm like, come on, that cheapened. It was laughable to me.
I don't know if you can look. A monkey might do anything, but it's.
Oh yeah.
You gotta be careful with these animals, but the llama part, man, and I'm like, okay, Mike, I see where you're headed. I know where you've been, but I'm trying to get these animal things going on in my head. I mean, apparently the monkey fell in love with him right away, so I guess they were on the same wavelength or something. I don't know. I'm just talking.
What?
But I'm saying, I just the monkey and the llama.
I feel you, Ron.
They were speaking to Michael's childlike nature, and again, his connection with animals. They were really showing his empathy, and he was talking about how the monkey was a rescue, and he had a lot of empathy, and then showing him in the hospitals with the children, and how he was, I think that they were trying to show his nature. Like that's really, he was very soft spoken, very gentle, very childlike, even to the scene where he's in the toy store.
Yeah.
He is going crazy. He a grown, or I don't know if he was grown at that point. I'm assuming he's in his late teens, early 20s.
Yeah.
But either way, he's acting like a little kid. He got little kids coming up to him.
He remember the song with the child's heart, because that's exactly what he had. He had a child's heart, and I can respect that. I'm just kind of fooling around with it, but
but Ron, I hollered when he was sitting up there, and I thought he was talking to Bill or he was talking to somebody, and then next thing you know, the llama came in the frame. I said, "You could have bought me for a penny." I said,
and then he kissed the llama on top of that.
On top of
you know what I say? I say if Mike wasn't a singer, he probably would have been a zoologist. I'm telling you.
Yeah, you can
because he was, to me, Mike was like a super nerd in a good way. Like he learned so much. He loved learning, and then he loved animals. And as you said, Tiara, the empathy part, like he was just a good soul. And also wanted to touch on the fact that he looked at himself, and I don't think a lot of people talk about it. He looked at himself as a vessel, right? A vessel receiving the signal from God to create this incredible music to touch the world, right? Like Mama Say, Mama Sa, Mama Maku Sa, I always thought was like an African chant. No, he created it. It came from the creator. It means nothing, but it means something to us. You know what I'm saying? So the man was an incredible man. And that's something that I think this movie was trying to display at the right time for us right now.
And I think that was especially apparent too in that gang member scene where he's trying to reunite the gangs.
Oh yeah,
because he's seen that on TV and he was touched by like the violence going on. He was like, this is in my power to try to do something.
Yes,
and he did something.
He did.
You gotta be touched. You gotta be touched to try.
He's an unofficial Crip. He's an unofficial.
Say the Bloods and the Crips. You gonna bring them together? Yeah, you gotta be touched.
Yeah.
I don't know. He had a red jacket on. Is he?
Right.
He took a picture.
He should have had a tailored jacket that had red and blue, but I'm just saying anyway.
Exactly.
But the thing about that too is like you can see that at that point Michael had already felt like you guys were talking about, he like a vessel. He had already felt like he had his calling, but he was also big enough to do it. Because he tried to do that maybe years earlier, it wouldn't have went over that well. He was already a monster at that point. The Crips and Bloods, they was like, I mean, that's Michael. Like they hey, that's Michael.
Mike's good in the hood.
Period. And that's one thing I'm hoping that people pick up from this movie. Like any of the younger generation that wasn't around for Michael, I hope they are picking up on how massive of a star he was. Because I don't know if the film did that. Like you could tell people were fainting, they were crying, they were doing, but I don't know if there's any way to portray how massive of a star he was.
There's no way. When
they showed him on top of that car in New York,
that was a good
one.
That was a good scene.
That I was like, it was massive because it made me, you know what it made me think about? It made me think about, I don't know if y'all remember at that time when Obama was running for office, when he went to Germany and he was there and it was like hundreds of thousands of people that came out, and he was just standing on stage, just sea of people. And when I saw Michael, like that's what it made me think of, because it was a sea of people.
I would say I was a little upset with the extras that was at the concerts, because I'm like, they're not doing enough for me. They are not giving off the effect that needs to be given. Like people
need to fall out, right?
They show people being carried out, but people would
listen. That's why I couldn't get a ticket, because my mom saw that and was like, "I'm not going out there to buy tickets with these folks." You
just had to.
That's how I got denied, because to see these people in real life, like, I mean, it was grown men fainting and crying.
But it really touched me too, his philanthropy, because what he was able to do to the children's hospital by visiting and brightening up the kids with all kinds of illness, disease, cancer. And when he sued Pepsi Cola and won a $1.5 million lawsuit and gave all the money to
the
burn unit. And so I'm like, yeah, I agree, Tiffany. It's hard. And Tiara, what you said, it's hard to imagine the power that Michael had and how he distributed his power. He didn't misuse it. And so many people, with that kind of power misuses it, as we know today. But he didn't. So congratulations. And like I said, it really touched me in a lot of areas in the movie that did. But I'm just glad the way the movie turned out. It was wonderfully done.
Yeah.
The thing that struck me was when I saw that in the height of Off the Wall and Thriller, that he was still living at home with the family.
Right.
And when I saw it, I was like, wait a minute, he still living at home.
Yeah.
I was like, this was like before Neverland and stuff, before he branched out. So I was like, wow, imagine that having like the biggest album in the world and you being Michael Jackson. But you still, I mean, there's anything wrong with that because he was family oriented and stuff.
And
but
you still stuck under Joe.
But I said he still live at home. Yeah. I said to myself, I thought he would have been out of there.
I think he saw it as like a family house. Like we all got this house together,
right?
But we all gonna stick together,
right?
Until Neverland happened,
And I was thinking the same thing when there was that scene. I don't know. I think he walked into the house or walked into the room. I swore he had his own crib. I was like, and then he walked out and I was like, what? He's still at home?
Yeah.
I was shocked too.
But it was that big.
Because it plays into who he, like the whole buildup. Yeah. If this is who he is, he don't want to really leave home.
But I think his father had a lot to do with that too.
Yes.
Right.
Sometimes when you have a father like that, even though you can move at any point in time, that's not what Joseph wanted. Joseph wanted him under his roof and
control.
It was his roof. If his father said to him, he was like, "No one's gonna understand you outside of here." So I think that stayed with him. Like he knew he was different, and he probably thought, like, I'm probably safer being with my family. But this is where it hit home for me that I was like, "Oh, he's at home." Still, the Bishop moment when he had the lawyer fire Joe by fax, and then when he came in and he closed the refrigerator, when he opened the refrigerator, Joe was right there. I was like, "That's Bishop from Juice right there." That was that moment. I said, "Oh," because I was like, if he was in his own crib, it wouldn't have made no difference.
Right.
But the fact that he had to come home and face Joe,
right.
Yeah,
that was scary. That was pretty scary.
That was scary.
To turn around and he's like, "Read this."
Yeah, well, makes sense why
he
didn't want to do it himself.
Yeah.
But the scary. Not
I was thinking about having this frame.
Yeah.
Well, you know what was weird to me? And look, I'm not trying to make the story more than what it is, or wonder too much about what the story really is. But I gotta tell, man, it's just we live in such a world that we've seen so much. And maybe some people have experienced things. I gotta say, man, I find it a little tricky to believe that a person that ruled with such a heavy hand was very limited in his usage of that hand. They really tailored it a certain way that it kind of it was only about discipline. I was like, I don't know, but okay.
Listen, it was clear when Catherine said it ain't gonna be no beatings tonight. Nobody's getting beaten. So I was like, oh, the implication is not to me that not only the children were getting beat, but he was putting hands on her because he was like, nobody's getting
I think so. Honestly, they never show that, but the only thing that I could think of a mother not protecting her child is that those lashings gonna come to you too. So she kind of knows how to stay in her lane and just do but they never show it. They never showcase it. I've never seen any portrayal of him, putting hands and feet on him. But I don't know.
I mean, but you know what? You know what, Anita? As I say it, and I'm with you because I'll be feeling that way too because of all the things that we've witnessed or seen or understand. But the flip side is there could be a one-off situation where this man really only did it in a disciplinary manner because them kids got grown and there's a lot of kids up in there. They could have went off on Papa Joe. So I'm just
they were scared to death. They were still scared. You can see because when Michael spoke up, they were in the back like,
yep.
But Ron,
I was like, y'all grown, and they were like.
Ron touched it though, because I was just about to bring it up, and I'm waiting for y'all to scream at me. But could we give a little empathy to Joseph now? And let me do his little backstory just a bit.
I do have a little.
Yeah,
no, I do.
Yeah, I mean,
understanding.
I mean, the man. You know, when you're working on a where was it?
Steel mill.
A mill.
Steel mill, right?
Yeah. That's like 2 steps up from slavery.
Right,
And you're not even making the money that that you really need to make. And when he said to his brothers, I mean his sons, do you want to work in a steel mill like me for 40 years or blah blah blah? And so I understood where he was coming from, and I'm not sure, to be honest, could they have obtained the same type of experience had he not had that kind of hand?
No, he deserves the credit for that work ethic.
Yes, he does.
Because you can tell that Michael was a perfectionist. They said afterwards and later in life, they said he was a perfectionist.
Absolutely.
And stuff. And watching those interviews and Teddy Rock, all of them, they said if he didn't like something, he would send it back and stuff. Like he was serious about his craft. And if I'm going to give credit to Joe, I'm going to, give him credit for that because he instilled that in those boys.
We also,
and all of them, Janet. All of them.
Yeah.
We got to remember. We have to remember that the household was a godly household, and they lived as 7-day Adventists. So they were living under the scripture: "Spare the rod, spoil the child." So if we sparing the rod, then these kids gonna be spoiled. So the man did what the Bible was saying. Now there's a difference between a whooping and a beating.
And a beating, right?
Those who haven't been whooped don't know the difference.
Right.
We have to educate people because I've been whooped. I think I have. But we have to educate the people because any parent with a hand on a child, they just see abuse.
Right.
They don't know what a whooping is because they was doing the timeout thing.
Right.
You must have seen Catherine's interview because I watched. They had a compilation of all her interviews. So, like I said, after I watched the movie, I watched all this stuff, and in it, that's what she's saying because she's a J-Dub. She believes in the Bible. The Bible says, "Don't spare the rod." And so she was just like, when they asked her about Michael, said he was being, and she was just like, he was tough. Joe was tough, but she saw it as discipline and not sparing the rod. She did not see it as him being abusive to
them. And they grew up in a very, very rough city. And there was a lot of stuff that those kids could have gotten into. And so if I'll give Joe any credit, it's for keeping them kids out of any kind of mischief that they could have gotten into by keeping them focused on their music and their dancing and stuff like that. So that's where my credit for Joe ends.
Okay.
That's it. Start and stop right there.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
When he got older, he got worse, but
I thought I'd get a beat down from it, but hey.
No. You deserve some credit.
Yeah, you can't. There's a lot of people. There's still people to this day that don't know how much talent they have because they don't have the willpower to push themselves to cultivate that talent or really explore it. Right.
Yeah.
But when you have somebody that really believes in you and thinks, but first off, not for nothing, just to get the boys. See, this is why some people feel the movie's rushed because there's so many different things they didn't touch on in so many different instances. They give you this bubblegum thing of, hey, like this happens and then this happened. Nothing happens overnight. There's so much blood, sweat, and tears that goes into this. So much practice. You know how many times them Jackson boys had to keep practicing over and over? They show a couple practices. You ain't getting it right. He gets beat a little bit, and then they go perform. Man, there was way more than that. And a lot that went into the effort to get these boys the way. I mean, they were like machines in the way they're dancing, they on time, like and singing.
Yeah.
Like this is
Going to
that's
school.
it wasn't just, of course, Michael's voice is what made them stand out. That angelic voice. But them boys in the background was harmonizing. They was right and they was dancing and playing
instruments,
guitars, bass.
crazy.
Yeah.
And one more thing I want to touch on before I forget, that, like I said, going back to the whole thing, like some things that it's great to tell a story, but it's certain things that if you really want to inspire somebody, you really hone in on certain aspects. I get you can't put all this stuff in the movie, but like the making of Thriller was like an ordeal. Everybody that was around Thriller was like, it was the most phenomenal thing I've ever been a part of in my life, and I've never been a part of anything like that since. Even the back and forth between Quincy Jones being on top of Michael being a perfectionist, there was a point where Quincy was like, okay, I think it's good. And Michael would not stop. He was still going back and forth and tinkering. Like, that's crazy. Like, I need to see that.
Yeah, I agree. They did rush, and I think they were trying to show like some of his big hits, but I agree, especially on Thriller, because that's such a major, like a standout moment in his career up to that point. I agree. I would have liked to see more of the background, and I do agree with you that it felt a little rushed, and they spent more time on certain things that I felt were like less relevant, and they should have focused more attention on bringing new material to the forefront. Like, there's so many things that I did not know that I picked up off of social media, and I'm like, why didn't the movie do this?
At least. I'm sorry, Tiff. My fault. I was just gonna say one thing. At least if you can't get into everything, they left out a pivotal moment that I think is like, I still can't believe it to this day when I heard it, that when Thriller was done.
Ron, did we lose you?
Yeah.
Ron,
yeah, we got a glitch on Ron. What were you about to say, Tiff, while he's out?
Am I here? Did you lose
me?
Yeah,
you're
back?
Yeah, you're back now.
You're back.
Okay, I'm sorry. I guess my internet connection got unstable. I don't want to switch it to wired, even though I could, because you're gonna lose me. Well, maybe I'll try. The point is, I'm good right now.
You're good, yeah.
Okay. So the one thing that I wish they would have kept in is, once the album was finished, once Thriller was finished, and they gave it to Michael to hear it, and everybody was like, "This is great. This is a masterpiece." And Michael heard the final cut, and he started crying because he thought it wasn't good enough. That is a moment that I don't know how you leave out of the movie. Like that, to put together, like if they would have just allowed us to hear some of the snippets of the songs and everything he was working on, and then have him hear it and think that is not good enough and start crying. Oh man, that would have took me out.
Then he had to remix it. Yeah.
Agreed.
That's probably the first moment he had of that, because I heard when I was watching some of the documentaries on him that he didn't think his performance of Billie Jean for the Motown 25, that he didn't think it was good enough either. And they say he cried backstage, and we all know how phenomenal that performance is still to this day.
Right.
Yeah.
And Tiff, just to say real quick, part of that, when I looked at the movie, I was a little bit like, well, why did they do it like that? Part of the issue obviously was when he did the moonwalk and then he did the stand up on his toes, he wanted to hold it.
Right.
When you look at the movie, Jafar looks like he held it longer than Michael did. I was like,
he held it long enough to know that he was standing on his toes. Let me ask you all a question between Billie Jean and Thriller. Which one? Which one does it for you?
I'm a Thriller girly.
Billie Jean does it for me.
Thriller.
I'm sorry.
Wait, what are we talking about? From what perspective?
Oh yeah.
I mean, song or the video? What?
Well, okay.
This whole soundtrack, the album, right?
Yeah, just the album part, because Thriller will never. I don't think anybody will ever produce something that goes about, that's better than Thriller. Never. And I could say the same thing about Billie Jean, but I think Thriller is the album that caught me. Now, I've always known about Michael Jackson.
Off the Wall was the one. Like, I still listen to. I love Thriller. Love Thriller. That is bomb. Off the Wall. Can't help it.
Yeah.
I think I gotta agree.
So,
Off the Wall was good.
Yeah.
And then, of course, y'all remember the famous song "Working Day and Night." That's exactly what Joe had them doing, working.
But that choreography in Thriller could not be matched.
Right. That's why I said from what perspective, because if we talk about strictly from a creative and the video perspective, Thriller is the one.
And really,
Billie Jean musically, I like better.
So you like Human Nature is my joint. Human Nature.
I love Human Nature. Yeah.
Like heavenly.
If we talking about
outro,
favorites, and I want to kind of, because we've been running a little long, and I want to get your thoughts because there have been announcements of a part 2. So if we're talking about a part 2, I want everybody to talk about what they would like to see. And I'll kind of kick that off. Speaking of favorites, because Remember the Time is my all-time favorite Michael Jackson video. That I watched that video last weekend.
That video was amazing.
I love that song. I love the video. I love everything about it. So in the part 2, I really want to see Remember the Time. I also want to see the Smooth Criminal moment with that little lean.
That is my favorite moment, the gravitational lean.
And then the last thing I'll say is watching this film, and I know because of legal reasons, but I would have thought Michael only had one sister. I need to see the Scream video.
Janet declined. I was gonna say, I thought y'all knew that she did not want to be portrayed.
I know she declined, and I know there's like other things going on legally, and I'm like, but in the later years, especially once they got to collabing and once Janet became just as big of a star, I would really like to see something. I hope she changed her mind now that she's seen this.
Well, that amount of money that they made, the money that they made worldwide, what was it, 200 million?
Yeah, now it's at 400 something.
400.
Yeah, I bet she'll be in the next one. Now,
I don't think, but it wasn't about money for her though.
Yeah,
it was other things.
That's what they say, but it's all luck. Everybody got.
I thought this was the family's portrayal. I'm so shocked that she was not.
I don't think Janet can do it. Honestly, if I was a betting man, I'll bet you that Janet never watches this movie ever in life. Like, I don't think she can even watch it. I don't think she can do it.
That's the other thing. She was the closest to Mike.
Yeah.
So I hear.
I think Janet want her own movie. That's what I think.
A very difficult time.
I think Janet deserves her own movie too.
I think she want her own movie.
That is true. I mean,
and I think the way that the checks were cut has something to do with it as well.
Yeah.
But also, like everything you said, Tiara, as far as who you want to see in the next one, that I agree totally with you. With hopefully Diana.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to see Diana, and I want to something that we didn't even discuss here. It was alluded to a little bit in the movie when he made a reference to Prince.
Oh yeah.
That was the Prince Michael during growing up. That was all you heard. Prince and Michael. That they were coming up together and stuff. They had their own. They're both legends. They're both legends and stuff, but they were a huge part of each other's lives too. I mean, with the rivalry and all of that, and it was only touched on
in the pool.
And I was just like, I said they skated on that.
Yeah.
Now, okay, let me give you mine. Now, this is crazy, but I want to know what's behind Ben. Does anybody know?
Behind what?
Oh, Ben?
The song.
Yeah,
with the rats. I mean, what?
The rat.
What was?
That was his first friend. That was his first real friend.
Yeah,
Mousetrap, right? That's all.
I don't think don't touch on that.
Listen, the rumors was that Papa Joe took Ben out, but I don't know if that's true. I don't know.
That's what
isn't that in the American story?
Yeah,
it is.
That Joe took and he cried and everything else like that. So yeah. But he did create a song called Ben that was like number one for the soundtrack.
It was for the longest time.
But Mike Ben number one. Like I don't know what MTV was doing. They were bugging.
Yeah,
I mean, we didn't. Oh, you know what? We didn't even see. I'm sorry, because I know that Ron is going to the stuff that he wants to see. But I just thought of one more thing when you said it, brought up Ben, because it brought me back to him being a kid. We didn't see nothing about the Jackson. They was big. The Jackson cartoons.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I used to watch it
on Saturday mornings, man.
Yeah.
When everybody had to be in front of the TV at the same time watching the same thing. All the time. Michael Jackson on TV. Everybody go running home.
And I think one thing I left off my list is also the Super Bowl moment.
Well, I think that comes later, right? Yeah. So
that
has
to be good.
That's a phenomenal. The him coming up with that suit on, just standing there for like I don't know how many minutes.
Yeah.
And the multiple Michael Jacksons that was popping up, that crazy.
Yeah.
Nita, you got anything, or Tiff, or Jay? I think y'all the only ones that didn't say what you want to see in part 2.
Oh no, I'm good with everything that everybody said.
Okay.
Like Smooth Criminal, that was my jam.
That's my joint. Yeah.
I did like Remember the Time, but Smooth Criminal was...
Remember the Time brought me back to Mike because, and again, this is controversial because once he went to the bad and started doing the pop stuff, he kind of lost me a little bit.
Yeah.
But the Liberian Girl and Remember the Time.
That's my dad's song.
I was DJing at that time and I kept spinning that back. Like, it was just an incredible song with Teddy Riley. Like, it was, and the video with all the stars, Eddie Murphy, Magic Johnson. I mean, Tiny List, everybody was in that thing. It was just
John Singleton directed it.
John Singleton. Yeah. That's right. Rest in peace.
I guess I would probably say that I just want him, if they were to do a part 2, you know, I kind of already said what I would like to see, because I would like to see them show from the legal perspective, but Michael's perspective of the power that he created for himself.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, I also want us to really relive a couple different things that maybe they don't touch on enough. One is how good of a person Michael was and how the vessel grew into other things, coming up with songs like Black or White, you know what I mean? Man in the Mirror, and, you know, stuff like really, but touching on the issues, because there was things that inspired Michael from what he was seeing going on in the world that made him create these type of you know, musical moments. So like touching on that type of stuff. And one other thing, you know, because I've been seeing a lot of stuff has been coming out lately because the movie's out. Mike was kind of the man with the lady.
Oh, he definitely was.
I was going to say, y'all need to watch the Akon and Pharrell and all this stuff. I'm like, they ain't giving the tea. They were like, oh, he like tall, he like models, and some of the stuff. I'm like, okay, Mike.
Not crazy. He knew it.
Yeah.
They was talking about Mike and how he used to refer to some of the groupies as fish.
Yes, the fishes. That's all I'm saying.
And they was in the car one time, and there was a bunch of them out, and Mike was like, "Yeah, there's a lot of fish out there. Some nice fish."
I know when they said guys that could pull a chick in a blouse and some tights.
Right.
How about all of them? Teddy Riley, Akon, all of them. Rodney Jerkins, Darkchild, all of them said that Mike's voice was deeper behind the scenes too. They said his speaking voice was a little different, a little deeper behind the scenes and stuff. And when they asked Teddy Riley, they were like, well, why did he, you know, that was part of the persona. Like, I mean, his voice is high, but they said, Pharrell and them said they thought that he kept his voice in that register for his singing voice too.
Yeah.
Also training. But yeah, they said his voice was a little deeper than what we thought it was.
I think Diana helped him, you know, with the
But you know, that is true though, because I know when I first did radio, my voice was very low. And I remember that the producer came in like, I don't know, an hour after I'd been on the show, and she's like, okay, we're about to grab you off the radio. Nobody can hear you. You're too deep. So I had to bring my voice up, and now it stays this way.
Yeah.
You know, because you know, I had to resonate. And when you're so low, you had to train it to get it, bring it up. I used to be real low. I mean, you know, but yeah, it was like that. But
he was always the bass in the group, huh?
Oh yeah.
There you go.
I just thought of two more things I think I want to see in part 2.
Okay.
The deals, you know, Mike's you know, business savvy outside of the music, you know, outside of performing. They got to show the deals that he did behind the scenes to acquire all those catalogs.
Yes.
And then the other thing I was gonna say is they have to show his kids. The thing with the kids, everybody is looking. I know it's controversial, but anybody with eyes can see.
No.
I got one more that nobody spoke about.
Well, I mean, you about to say what I was thinking.
He probably on it next all day. We gotta see the conversation between Mike and Paul McCartney.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that no, I was getting ready to go there, Jay, when she said the Sony, the catalogs, because a lot of people keep talking about how he bought Paul McCartney's catalog, but he didn't just buy his catalog.
Right.
He bought all of their catalog. When he owned half of Sony ATV, like he had Eminem's catalog. He had so many people. He had half of Sony. And the sad thing that I just learned from reading up on all this after I saw the movie, that now in his death, because that was one of his biggest fears, that he kept saying no, because Sony kept wanting to get the catalogs back, buy it back. And he was like, no. And now in his death, they have bought it back. And I was just like, I wish his team would have stood on business and said he wouldn't have wanted to sell this. He was like holding on for dear life for that. And one of the things that Akon and them said was that a lot of those allegations didn't start until after he bought those catalogs.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like, if they're going to talk about the allegations, talk about it from that perspective.
That's
and how they were using it against him.
Are they going to show the gangster side of the music business? Because everything they did to create this negative narrative about Mike was to get control of Mike.
Yeah.
I hope they go there. I don't think they will.
I hope they go there. Because they have his press conference when, you see that when he was going off.
I think we have to petition Netflix to do a series, an episode.
Somebody.
Yeah. I mean, because in order to get all this in, and I guess it would be a good episode, episode to watch. But you would probably have to do that. It's not going to be in a movie because that's a 4-hour movie.
Yeah, that's a lot. I know it would be great though.
Where was We Are the World in the span of things? Is it post 1988 or pre?
We Are the World.
Pre.
That was pre.
84.
Oh, because I'm like, we didn't see that either.
Yeah,
they skipped over a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff.
And then I thought too about like the James Brown inspiration. Like if they didn't capture it in his youth pre 88, I feel like they could capture it again in part 2, where he's like giving James Brown that achievement award at the BET Awards and whatnot.
Remember, the younger James Brown used to always watch. I mean, the younger Michael used to watch James Brown.
Yeah, they showed that in the movie. Showed him watching him
doing the splits.
Right.
You got to show when James Brown was on stage, and then he brought up Mike, right? And Mike did his thing, and then they brought up Prince. Nobody was feeling Prince. That
was the beginning of the
huge.
That was the start of the.
And then they were supposed to do a duet on Bad, and he said, "Your butt is mine," and Prince was like, "I ain't singing that to you, and you ain't singing that to me. So who's butt? We ain't doing no duet." I want to see that.
And some of it too. They had a whole thing. There's a documentary with Quincy that talks about why, there was a fallout between Michael and Quincy too, and they said some people believe that Michael was mad too, that when they did Bad, that he offered and allegedly, like Prince, like top billing or same billing on Bad, and Michael wasn't feeling that. Like, this is how you gonna offer him on my song, So that was another thing that that Mike was mad about, at least allegedly.
Yeah,
it's a shame that when you think about it in hindsight, just about how smart both individuals were, Prince and Michael, when it came to the business and how they took back their power and took back their name in different ways. If those two brothers would have really locked in together, they could have controlled everyking.
Well, Prince, everything that he put out, it was like written, produced, Prince, written. Prince didn't even start letting people produce his stuff until he was like, middle age, before he died. He started letting other producers, but he would never let anybody produce his stuff.
That's a smart thing. I mean,
control
the purse right there.
But they also got to show one more thing. They also got to show Michael talking about, maybe they can reenact it, of how Prince almost ran him and
I heard that. I was like, oh no, don't do that.
If they can do that,
not the hit and run.
Yes, almost. I gotta see.
Yeah, they had a serious feud. Yeah, so they definitely have to touch on it. It's only right. They have to.
And another close relationship thing that they didn't touch on. Forget the Priscilla Presley stuff and all that, but that's a big part of his life.
The Lisa Marie Presley.
Lisa Marie. I'm sorry. Priscilla was the mother, right?
Yeah. I can let that go.
Brooke Shields, man.
Brooke Shields. Yeah.
Brooke Shields and Mike were tight, apparently. Like, I remember it, but when I started seeing, like you, Tiff, I went down the rabbit hole. Once I started seeing old videos, and I'm like, whoa, they was really tight. They were everywhere together.
Didn't know that he used to date Tatum O'Neal. I was like, oh my goodness.
A lot of stuff, man.
Tatum O'Neal, he dated Stephanie Mills. I was like,
Mike was the man.
Yeah. Yeah.
The man we didn't know.
Right.
All the fishes.
And I feel like we could go on and on forever, but we probably already at close to an hour and a half.
Yes, we
so let's wrap this thing up. Anybody got any last things they want to say about the movie overall?
Go see the movie.
Yes, definitely.
Go support it. Go watch it 2-3 times. Do it. Support Mike. I mean, this is the hugest movie in the world. And like I said earlier, it came at the right time because I think all of us as a community, we need inspiration again. And the younger folks definitely need to know who Mike was and how, powerful he was, how powerful he became. And also we need to be reminded of our words of affirmation. Mike did that a lot.
Yeah, that was cool to see.
They touched on it, and I think we all of us need to be reminded how great we are.
Yeah.
Well, let me say how great you all are, Jay, Ron, Nita. I really appreciate you guys because y'all show up every single time.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, y'all always show up and show out.
They sure
all
do.
The time.
The only thing I regret is those New York hats you got on, but I'm gonna let that one go.
No, I especially me because I see how y'all did my Sixers.
I hate to tell you, get used to it.
That's right. Coming for the chip, baby.
Yeah. But I want to say thank you guys once again for having me. But I will say, yes, definitely go out there, definitely see the movie, support Michael and all the endeavors and everything that goes into this. Because the other thing that this movie does, not only does it allow you to appreciate and understand an icon, but also to understand this is when music mattered, when it was something that we looked forward to everything Jackson, Michael, the brothers, everything, because that was our entertainment. Now, and that's one what we talked about earlier, just to harp on that, I don't know if people are going to appreciate how big Michael was because they're exposed to too much now. Back in the day, this is what we had. Like, we lived for the cartoon in the morning. We lived for when a Jackson 5 album came out or when a new Michael album came out. Like, I don't care if they told me, hey, no, that new Michael album, I don't know about that one. I'm getting it. I'll let you know how I feel about it.
Michael sang too. He ain't use auto-tune. He used auto-tune. Michael could really blow.
And he sold 1 million albums a week without the internet or streaming.
And he was one of the few people, because a lot of, this is the last thing I'm going to say about this. Some people take away from Michael. They start to say, well, I mean, Michael was good, but he was a really good performer. But his songwriting as he got older, some of the songs were repetitive, beat it, bad, you know what I mean? But they gloss over the human nature and all they gloss over too much. And the way you make me feel, oh, that's my jam. But what they fail to realize is Michael turned himself into a pop star. He started off in an R&B group. And he had the R&B chops. Yep. Okay. So he did what he felt he needed to do to be the best in the world. That's what I think people don't understand.
Because remember, that's why he hired John Branca, that lawyer. He was the only one in the room that got it. He was like, what do I want? He was like, you want to be the biggest star in the world. He was like, that's my guy. He knew. He was like, that's what I want. He saw me. That's my guy.
And with that, Tiara, you better take us home because we'll be here.
All right, so let's close this thing out. To all the viewers, thank you guys so much for watching. Drop down in the comments and give us your thoughts on Michael the movie and any expectations that you have for part 2. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, hype us up, and go over there on all of our social media pages and follow us. Also, be sure to follow Nita the Diva, Ron, Vacayjaytv. We're going to drop their handles in the description box. On that note, we're running long, so I know y'all ready to go. Good night, everyone, and thanks again.
Bye-bye.
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 Come on, let's go. Feel the beat tonight. Woo! We're gonna dance till morning light. Can you feel the rhythm? Got that groove. Life's too short. We gotta move. Step into the spotlight, ready to shine. Feel the magic in the air. It's our time. Hearts are racing, let the energy flow. Everybody's watching, let's put on a show. There's no holding back, gotta take that chance. When the bass drops low, baby, let's dance. Lose yourself in the music, don't be shy. We're the stars tonight, so let's fly high. Get up and move, don't wait, just groove. Feel the rhythm calling, let's make our move. We're dancing like there's no tomorrow. In this moment, there's no sorrow. Get up and move, let's light the way. With every step, we're here to stay. Feel the magic in the night. Come and join us. Let's ignite. City lights are flashing, hearts in sync. Feel that vibe, it's making